Good day, 'tis I, Lord El Marco Slagflapperus. If you know, you know. Now take a look at the left-hand side of the screen, read through those reasons. If you are a member of iRacing and you would like to become a member of our league, then you are more than welcome to join. Just have a look at that link below and Discord. Come join us, and yeah, 8 PM on Fridays. British summertime. Yes, so without any further ado, let's crack on with this week's highlights. Good day, 'tis I, Lord Pendlebury. Mr. Everson remains incapacitated, so it's my dulcet tones once more on the replays this week. So, a bumper grid of 15 cars following up the smallest grid we had last week. So, starting in pole position, once again that man Dan Slattery with Will Thomas alongside. We then have 'tis I, Lord Pendlebury in third with Jamie Nicholson in fourth. Jeff Sharp and Chris Hulse make up the third row of the grid with series newcomer Martin Rigby in seventh and Chris Palmer alongside in eighth. Paul Nicholson's in ninth with Axel Edwards for company rounding out the top 10 there. Anthony Dougie Marriott is in 11th with Steve Everson in 12th. Josh Morris is in 13th, Nelson Verdier in 14th, and finally Brian Dodd in 15th. So, rolling start, of course, in the GT3s. Coming up to, well, of course, the last corner before the green flag will fly. I imagine Slattery will probably punch it out of that corner, and indeed he does. It was the intelligent play, and it's spread the front runners out quite nicely already. Looks like we've got Nicholson and Sharp almost side by side as we come down to Eau Rouge. Everybody looks to have got away fairly cleanly. We've got Nicholson up the inside of Sharp, and he gets that job done. And it looks like Sharp has got a slow down there. He pulls out to the side, and that is a horrible slow down. I think it's about 3.5 seconds, which actually loses you about 7 odd seconds, so that's not a cracking start to his race. Taking a look at Marriott closing in on Everson here, but oh, what's gone on there? Oh, that's a big hit into the barriers. Look at look at those wheels. They come off like a clown car. But Marriott answering the question there, what happens if you lightly graze a smooth concrete wall? And fucking everything is the answer. So we join the battle here for 9th place between Edwards and Palmer. Palmer looks like he's got a bit of a run as they come down the Kemmel Straight. Oh, Edwards runs a little bit wide. Palmer has to avoid him and unfortunately clobbers the barrier. That promotes Nelson, Brian and Josh all up. Palmer falls down to 13th and has a fair amount of damage as well on that front end. That is unfortunate. So despite the damage, Palmer is recovering well here. Chasing down Josh Morris. Morris is out to the right of us, and Palmer has taken the racing line, which means he has got the job done before Eau Rouge and Radion. And there is confirmation. Checking in briefly with P8 man. Nicholson loses the rear end, gets it together, loses it again. Spins to the inside, keeps out of the barrier as well there. Is he going to retain the positions? No. Spa 24-hour teammate Edwards gets the move done on him, as does Verdier, as does Dodd, as does Palmer. That's Unfortunately dropped him well out the points there. Now we join a three-way battle here in the middle of the pack. Krils Hulse leads the way in 5th with Martin Rigby in 6th and Jeff Sharp in 7th. Through Blanchimont they come up towards the chicane, hard on the brakes they will soon be. Sharp takes a look to the inside. And he gets the job nicely done there on Rigby. On board with Dodd now. Oof, so I can hear in my left ear the screaming sound of Chris Palmer's Lamborghini. Looks like he's later on the brakes there, sweeps around the outside, continues his recovery and moves up into the points with that move. Now we join the battle between Thomas and Pendlebury for 2nd and 3rd. It's been a close one all race, the gap barely getting beyond 1.5 seconds between the two of them. I'm up towards Blanchimont now. Oh, the rear of that Porsche steps out and Pendlebury pisses it into the barriers. Picks up some damage, Nicholson goes through. Looks like he's been able to keep the car going, but there's a fair bit of damage on it. So here we join Edwards and Dodd. That one will have been an off track. Edwards dives down the inside as they come into the chicane. Side by side they go. Dodd does well to fight back. That's good racing from the two of them, keeping it nice and tidy. Edwards has definitely still got a run though as they come up to La Source. Looks to the inside line again. Dodd sweeps around the outside, carries the momentum. Edwards ducks back in to the slipstream. Oh, he's managed to get a very decent run down as they head towards Eau Rouge. Up through Radion. Edwards runs wide, that's surely going to be a slowdown. Yep, he's easing off the throttle. That will allow Dodd straight back through there. Down to P12, Edwards goes. Back to the Pendlebury, Hulse and Sharp battle. Oh, Pendlebury's out wide again there at Blanchimont after claiming earlier in the race that oh, and that's close. Sharp almost goes into the back of him. Rumour has it Pendlebury hadn't realised Sharp was closing in so quickly there. We rejoin that battle a short while later. Pendlebury decides not to defend as they go along the Kemmel Straight. Sharp up the inside and moves himself up into the top 5 with that one. And we now join Dan Slattery for his final half lap. Oh, what a lazy spin that is. So if I pissed it up earlier, I'm not sure how you describe that. He tries to... Oh, he's on the downhill. He slides across the track again. Everyone's going through. How many people is he going to lose a position to? That's Pendlebury going through. He's up to 5th. Then we've got Rigby. Jumps through as well. 1st down to 7th. He only had 2 miles to go until the finish line. I'm sure he'll be thrilled with the fact I'm labouring this point. Well, there we go. The race ends. Will Thomas gifted the 1st place there by Slattery. Jamie Nicholson came home 2nd with Chris Hulse rounding out the podium. Another 3rd place for him this season. Jeff Sharp and Pendlebury rounded out the top 5. Series newcomer Martin Rigby in 6th. A good solid first outing for him. Then we have Slattery, who recovered only to 7th in the end. That'll frustrate the championship leader no end. Nelson Verdier with his first appearance of the season in 8th, Chris Palmer in 9th, and then Paul Nicholson with the final championship point. Axel Edwards came home 11th with Brian Dodd in 12th after they had a fair few battles race long. Steve Everson in 13th, Josh Morris in 14th, and finally Anthony Marriott came home in 15th. We will take a short break, but we'll be back very shortly for the highlights from the feature race. So here we go then. I'm not even going to attempt to play the guest delivery game. We've lost 2 runners from that first race, Anthony Marriott and who else was it? Josh Morris have elected not to take part in the feature race. So let's take a look. In first place is Nelson Verdier with Paul Nicholson alongside. We then have Steve Everson with Brian Dodd on the second row. We then have Chris Palmer partnering Axel Edwards on the third row. Chris Huss and Jamie Nicholson come next with Lord Pendlebury and Jeff Sharp following them. Will Thomas is then starting in 11th with Dan Slattery in 12th and series newcomer Martin Rigby. I promise I won't refer to you as series newcomer continuously, Martin, but you will be starting in 13th. So here we go then. Getting ready for the feature race. This one will obviously, as we say every week, include a mandatory pit stop. But it doesn't happen every week that we will be going into darkness, which will make my job slightly trickier. They'll come charging down the hill. Oh, just about tucking in there as they go through Eau Rouge and then up through Radion. So we've got Pendlebury in the middle of the pack there with a run on Hulse. This is the battle for 8th place in these early exchanges. Oh, there's absolute chaos in the foreground there. We're going to have to hope for a replay to unpack what happened. Down the hill towards Rivage they go for the first time. Oh, and it looks like Pendlebury has made a move on Hulse there as he has moved up to 5th place. They obviously all gained some positions after that chaos at Lacombe. Things look like they are starting to settle a little bit on this first lap. Oh, I say that, I'm sure I heard the smash of a barrier there. Doesn't look like anybody has stopped on the track map though, so maybe I'm hearing things. Just so used to hearing smashing on the opening lap. Looks like we've got Slattery so close up Sharp's rear end there. You'd think he was filming content for his Only Dance page. Oh, there's definitely barrier contact there. I believe that was Everson getting well acquainted with the barriers after Blanchimont. Through the final chicane we go. So here we are on board with Jamie Nicholson in 7th, soon to become 4th place. It all moves around a bit under braking there. Edwards tags the back of Palmer, I believe it was, who then went careering into Dodd. And one more look at that here. Lots of moving around there. Edwards just clips Palmer's rear end. Dodd, truly the innocent party in all of that. So in slow motion we go to take a quick look at what happened with Everson. He was slightly wide through Blanchimont. loses that rear end, and the barriers come up on you very quickly when that happens. Round he pirouettes, his bumper says, "I've had enough of this," and pisses off. His rear wing thinks exactly the same. So we return to the live action, and this is the battle for 6th and 7th between Sharp and Slattery. No, that's Slattery, pulls out. And gets the job done nicely there. Goes a bit deep though, and Sharp can recover the position. That is Will Thomas also looking to take advantage. Couldn't quite do so though. So we join the four-way battle for first place here. That's Nicholson looking up the inside of Verdier. Rivage looks like he's getting that job done. Pendlebury's looking to try and follow him through. Can't quite. Hulse is also trying to get involved with this battle. Oh, Nicholson runs very wide there, allowing Verdier to get alongside. Hulse is alongside Pendlebury. This could end in tears as they go through Pouon. Oh, and it has done for Hulse. He's sideways. Nicholson looks to make that pass on Verdier again. Pendlebury in close attendance as well. This is allowing Sharp and Slattery, Thomas and Rigby all to close in as well. Nicholson of the Pool variety has opened up a little bit of a lead here with all this battling. Side by side through Blanchimont they go. You're brave if you do that. And Verdier has taken to the escape route. Oh, I can't work out what on earth's going on. Sharp looking up the inside of Pendlebury. Pendlebury goes all the way around the outside of Verdier. Slattery looks like he gets 2 positions in all of that as well. Sharp remains in 6th. Let's take a look at that again. The rarely used blimp cam I've gone to for this, because trying to unpack all of that down on the ground is very tricky. There's Verdier going wide, Nicholson going up the inside at Blanchimont, then it all closes up very tightly as they come into the final chicane. Slattery, excellent move all the way around the outside. Good move from Pendlebury as well to get around the outside of Verdier. Sharp lost out there really. Tried to follow through but picked the wrong line. Back to ground level we go. There's Verdier, currently in 5th. Sharp looks like he's got a good run through there. Looks like Slattery's got a good run on Pendlebury for 2nd place. No, for 3rd place, sorry. Well, Thomas looking to go around the outside of Sharp there. Looks like Sharp slightly later on the brakes. Has a look at the inside. At Rivage does Sharp. Thinks better of it. Now down towards Pouon they go. Sharp looking up the inside of Verdier. Gets his nose ahead. Slithers up the inside. Thomas will try to do the same. He may just about have his nose alongside. He's later on the brakes though, as they head into the Fanyas, and gets the job done nicely. Joining the Pendlebury and Slattery battle now for 3rd. Slattery showing just how much raw pace there is in this Mercedes. Come up to the final chicane here. Well, Nicholson doing very well at the moment to hold on to the lead. Showing some very good pace there. Slattery moves to the inside at turn 1. Pendlebury shows to go all the way around the outside. Does he? If he does, he's failed. rejoining the action a lap or two later. Nicholson still holding on to that lead, but the trio of Nicholson, Slattery and Pendlebury have been closing down. Sharp also in pretty close attendance there. On board with Nicholson. You can see the headlights from the cars behind. Down towards Eau Rouge they go. It's getting very tight as we come up towards Lacombe. Nicholson up the inside, Slattery follows it, Pendlebury follows him as well. That is, well, unfortunate stuff there for Paul Nicholson. Went from first place to fourth place in one corner. Shit. Paul said something about doing something incredible in this race, and I think I've missed it. Let me go back and find out. Now, I could have subtly slid this in earlier, but that's going to be more effort than I can be bothered to make of it. So, here you are, Paul. Lovely move down the inside into Lacombe. Gets it stopped nicely. Demonstrates some very nice driving early in the race here. Now have Sharp and Thomas coming up on Nicholson. To the final chicane they go. Oh, Thomas has made a move to the inside. Caught Sharp unawares there. Oh, it's close. Oh. You can get a cigarette paper between them there. It's tighter than a duck's arse. So I've been told. Up to turn one they come. Sharp on the outside. Looks to get the switch back. Can't quite get it done, so tucks in for the long drive down through Eau Rouge, Radion, and then onto the Camel Straight. Should be 100% throttle all the way for them, and they will no doubt be closing in on Nicholson towards the end of the Camel Straight. Ooh, not quite enough though. We join the battle for fourth a little bit later on. 3-4-1 they go. Oh, Nicholson's got a little bit wide. Sharp looking to do what Will Thomas did to him and take advantage. Can't quite do that, but they have both moved up a position into fourth and fifth. Nicholson down to sixth place now. Third. This replay's come in. Early race hero Paul Nicholson got a little bit wide. Clobbers where the concrete starts again and absolutely twats the barrier there. Now take a look a little bit further down the grid for 11th, and Jesus Christ, the absolute shit show that is that Ferrari. Lost a lot of bodywork. It's the 458 Leggera, Super Leggera. Oh, I'll tell you what, he's late on the brakes though, Everson. So I swear that Ferrari is a solid 7-8 inches shorter than it usually is. Dodd dives into the pit lane though. Right, we don't usually tend to bother with pit stops in the feature race highlights because trying to keep track of everything in a highlights package is frankly a nightmare. But considering how busy the pit lane got for this round of pit stops, we are going to attempt it this time. So the order you see in the top left hand corner of the screen is as they have pitted. We've got people that have already pitted. I think most people are coming in this lap. Pendlebury has pitted. Everson hasn't pitted yet. Now we've got someone coming out the pit lanes, whoever that was. That was Brian Dodd. His pit stop is done. there's Dan coming out. He should retain the lead quite easily. He had quite a comfortable lead going into the pits. That's Nicholson and Sharp exiting the pits. We've got Pendlebury coming down the hill. His main battle was with Nicholson. Let's see if he can beat him out. Everyone's going around all over the place. Verdier's kept... Oh no, Hulse has gained some positions there. Where was he? No, he hasn't. Oh, God knows this. Okay. Note for the future. Let's not do this. I've really not kept abreast with things. I think the key thing that there is Pendlebury has come out ahead of Nicholson. Sharp has... Well, as experiments go, even with Will Thomas's data extract from iRacing, it was impossible to keep track of what was going on in the pit stops there. So we've learnt for the future. We won't do that again. But we now join Slattery with a comfortable lead. Through Blanchimont he goes. Went a little bit wide there through curve Paul Frere. Into the final chicane he comes. Only a few laps to go now. Oh, he clobbers that inside curb. There is an extreme close-up of the OnlyFans Dan's Nans. But we'll stick with that extreme close-up. But you can hear the screaming of Pendlebury's 911. He is side by side, and that puts him up into first place. Slattery will not want to throw away 2 wins in 2 races. He is right on the back of Pendlebury as they go up through Radion. So at the straight line speed of that Mercedes, just Pendlebury cannot live with it. Breezing past him on the straight there. Looks like Pendlebury concedes the position. Perhaps knowing that it wasn't worth fighting that battle. Here we are with the battle for the final podium spot. Nicholson and Sharp. First corner they go. Oh, Nicholson's lost his rear end. That's delayed Sharp. Is anybody going to hit him? Oh, Will Thomas almost does so. Nicholson having to engage the 3-point turn here on the racing line. Could see that he had the space to do so, though. That's a shame. A good battle was brewing there as Nicholson and Sharp were closing in on Slattery and Pendlebury. But that's... Oh, and something's happened to Sharp there. So here we are. Left front suspension of Sharp. We'll see Nicholson go round here. That rear end just steps out. Just the car. I tell you what, there's nearly a little bit of splitter on splitter action, but you can hear there. Gearbox has gone. Hardware issues in the seat apparently. Can't get out of first gear, and that's sadly. So here we are, back to the stands to see Dan Slattery claiming first place. Pendlebury comes across to take second place, with Will Thomas rounding out the top 3 and the podium places. We then had Jamie Nicholson recovering from that late spin to take 4th place. Chris Hulse came home in 5th, with Chris Palmer in 6th. Nelson Verdier in 7th, with Jeff Sharp sadly falling to 8th after his hardware issues. Martin Rigby finished in the points again at his first meeting in 9th, with Paul Nicholson in 10th for that final championship point. Steve Everson in the wars throughout in his Superleggera 458 came home 11th. Brian Dodd came home 12th, and Axel Edwards an unfortunate trend at the moment of retiring in the feature race. Comes home 18 laps down, or retired 18 laps from the end, I should say. Here we go then. So Dan Slattery has actually opened up his lead a little bit more by an additional 3 points after this meeting. He's on 183 with the Will Thomas in his first full season on 145. Jeff Sharp is then in third on 125 with Lord Pendlebury 7 points back on 118. It's then just 5 points back to Jamie Nicholson in fifth, and then a further 10 points to Chris Hulse in sixth. We then have a gap back to Chris Palmer in 7th with Axel Edwards just 5 points behind him in 8th. Then a bit more of a gap to Brian Dodd in 9th and Steve Everson in 10th. They're not both on 22 points. Brian Dodd's on 27, Steve Everson is on 22 points in 10th, tied with Josh Morris. We then have Paul Nicholson in 12th, Stephen Lacosta in 13th, Nelson Verdier in 14th, tied with Martin Rigby and Travis Dorado on 10 points. We then have Anthony Marriott on 1 point in 17th. So thank you very much for watching, very much appreciated. Next week we will have GTEs from Road Atlanta, I believe. So looking forward to that one because I'm not racing. Ciao!